All right. Well, like Bill said, I'm Eddie Hamilton. Thanks for having me. And it's, can you hear me? Do I need to use this?
I think you should.
Okay. Thanks for having me here. Like Bill said, I graduated back in 1991 from Bethany and had a real good time here. I played a little soccer and took a lot of art classes, and it's a real good experience overall. And tonight, I guess I'll talk a little bit about my career as an artist, but also touch on a little bit on my work as a graphic designer too, what it's like to be a creative professional is what I've turned out to be. So, since Bethany, I bounced around a little bit. I think I found a lot of people in the creative field kind of searched to try to find out how they could utilize their creative skills. So I took a lot of art history classes, took a lot of journalism classes, and kind of settled on graphic design as a career, a way that I could make a little money to pay the college bills I was accumulating. That was one of the first reasons, and it really turned out to be a nice blend of things for me to be doing. Having a creative career that allowed me to paint the way I wanted to on the side. I've been at Priority, which is a marketing, publishing, and interactive firm in Edina for about, can you hear in the back, those old ears? I've been at Priority, which is an interactive marketing and publishing firm in Edina for about 8 years, and I manage the creative team there. We have we have 9 graphic designers on my team. And currently I live in Minneapolis with my wife, Jennifer, and she's over here. And we're expecting our first child in October, so we're getting ready for that too. So what I'm going to do is talk about why I paint the way I do. I get that question quite a bit, and so I can give a little history of how this came about. And then I'll touch a little bit more on the graphic design career, what I've learned about that I can share with you guys. So my art history, why I'm doing what I'm doing now. About 8 years ago, I was at a point where I was painting, not as much as I would like to, but I kind of was starting to develop my own personal painting philosophy a little bit more. And it occurred to me I needed to do something a little bit extra to push myself along. So I was going to start a art log. And in this art log, I would journal every day what I was doing with my art career. And I also made the commitment that I was going to paint every day, no matter what. I had a job, and I was fairly busy, but I was going to do whatever I could to do that. So some mornings I'd be getting up before work for an hour and going down to my basement and painting. Some days it was late at night when I had a little time, even if it was just for a few minutes. I would work. I started calling it work too instead of painting, because I wanted to make it seem like it worked for me. I wanted to make it seem like more of a work setting. And even now, I guess when I go to the studio, I call it I'm going to work. So this journal that I was keeping, or this art log, I was really able to identify some things that were influencing me in my work at that time. And as I looked back at this art log, I think I kept it it lasted about 200 days, this initial period where I was painting every day and keeping a journal. And so 3 main periods in my life kind of revealed themselves that were really inspiring and influencing my work, and kind of carried through till today and to what I'm doing now. So those periods were my childhood, my teen years, and then my college years. So my childhood, excuse me, I was born in San Gabriel, California, which is just east of LA. And in California, you have the opportunity to grow up and, if I pull it up higher, that sounds a little better. You have the opportunity to play outside every day as a kid. There's no real winter. So 365 days a year, your mom lets you outside and you can have as much fun as you want to. And so that's what I did. And we lived in California until I was about 6 years old. And it was a great time. I was just, like I said, able to play and experiment and do all kinds of things all day. We lived a little bit outside of the city. And we had there was a ranch house across the street from our house. They had a big pool and the horses. And there was these dry desert hills that I would try to keep up with my older brother with and chase after him and run around in the sun all day. And we had this, well, I guess anywhere, but in our neighborhood, we were at our house was kind of at the bottom of 2 hills. And so in our front yard, there ran a drainage ditch. So when it rained, we would have a little creek or river in front of our house. But for the rest of the year, it was a huge sandbox, really. And so we'd play out in there all day, digging holes and doing all kinds of things. And I was kind of, I guess, a little bit of a daredevil as a kid. Or at least I thought I was. I think by the time when I was 6, I had gone through 2 or 3 different bicycles that I had ruined from being adventurous. We had this retaining wall in our front yard in front of that sandbox ditch, and I'd get up to the top of the hill on my bike, and kind of, as I was learning to ride my bike, I'd coast down the hill through our yard and jump into the ditch, let the bike go flying, and I would go flying a different direction. So a lot of different play like that. And also my parents were really encouraged our creativity as kids. They also were wonderful parents. I remember being read to every day. I remember starting school very young. They had me in the early preschools and all of that. So my parents were always around, very encouraging in whatever we ever wanted to do as kids. My mom tells me, I don't remember these parts, but she would always take me to art galleries, and she remembers how much I enjoyed watching the art, or looking at the art and staring at the pictures. And she'd buy me sketchbooks that I'd fill up. She says I would draw the same thing over and over and over and fill up a whole sketchbook where I'd be every page I was trying to draw the same thing over and over so I'd get it right. So for my childhood, it was the emotion of that time, the freedom, the experimenting, the discovery, and the play that I tried to tap into when I was working on my art log and painting every day. And I was trying to capture that spirit as I painted. So in my teen years, we were living in Minnesota by now. I still like to play a lot, but now I was playing hockey across the street every day instead of out in the deserty hills of California. And I was still drawing a lot, repeating things over and over, but now I was into rendering Sports Illustrated pictures. That was the thing I loved to do. Especially hockey goalies turned out to be my favorite thing to draw. And I really got really good at it too. I'd get out my box of colored pencils, and then Sports Illustrated came. I'd get out my sketchbook, and I'd render as perfectly as I could any hockey goalie I could find.